G'day ladies and gents. Today, we're not going to be in my workshop for the project. Well, we are. We're going to come back to my workshop later, but we're going to kick this episode off with a little road trip to Binghams Woodwork. Now, Matt over at Binghams Woodwork has a CNC and he cuts out signs and all different types of designs. He does custom orders, so if you're in WA, check out his page on Facebook. But I'm going to head over to his workshop because today I've prepped up a piece of salmon gum that he's going to engrave with the CNC for me. Once he's engraved it, I'm going to bring it back here. I'm going to fill it with resin. We're going to sand it down, polish it up and hang it on the wall. Pretty cool, I know. I'm looking forward to this, guys, because I've seen CNCs at work before, but I've never been involved with the process of actually using one. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. I've prepped up my piece of salmon gum right here. Gonna take this over now and get cutting. So let's jump in the car and go. Alright guys, so I've thrown some milliput into the grooves now. I'm going to give that a little bit of time to dry and then we're going to mix up some resin and put it in. We're going to be using red and blue because they're the Spider-Man colors. So I'm going to use some hot glue to try and mask off certain areas so that the colors don't mix and match in places that they're not supposed to be. I think I'm going to start by pouring the blue first because there's less of that than the red. So I'm going to use some dabs of hot glue to try and block off all the entry points to the red areas. Fingers crossed when the resin sets I can just heat that glue up and peel it straight off. But I've never done resin like this before, so I've really got no idea if it'll work or not. Here's to experimenting. And yes, for those observant, loyal viewers who watch all of my videos, I am still upgrading my shop slowly. It's much nicer than the old shelving I had sitting there before. Check that out. I also added in these holders into my chisel stand. They're just PVC pipe that I cut up to hold each chisel steady because everything was rocking around when I was turning on the lathe. You can check out how I built this chisel stand up here. I'll leave a link. But that was a much needed improvement. So I may have made a bit of a mistake. When I was mixing the blue resin, I didn't pay attention to the bottles, and instead of putting in 2 parts resin, 1 part hardener, I seem to have mixed up 2 parts hardener, 1 part resin. So obviously that led to the resin not curing properly. It got quite sticky and tacky, but it was still in a liquid form. So that caused some major issues. I had to go back and scrape as much of that blue resin out as I could, mix up a new batch and pour it in last night. Now, I'd say it's about 90% set at the moment. It is hard to the touch, but I can still dig my fingernail into it and leave a bit of an imprint. But I'm going to experiment and see if I can sand resin in the state that it's in right now. Mainly because it's been about 5 days since I started this project and I want to get it done. Let's whip out the belt sander, take this excess off and see what happens. We didn't go deep enough. Everything was looking schmick. I thought we were deep enough into the design that there was enough there for me to sand. Man, I was wrong. So unfortunately, I started losing some of the words really early on. I only got up to 240 grit. So I called it quits at 240 because I didn't want to lose any more. And this is what we're left with. You can see Spider-Man turned out pretty cool there. I got the black milli put in his eyes, the silver grey this was actually that I used for the web, which turned out so vibrant. I filled the spider here with black milli put to make him stand out too. Then we used the red and the blue resin. Spider-Man came out okay. The wording, however, we started losing this section right there, if you can see. So we've lost a part of the E, pretty much all of the A and most of the T there, which just leads me to believe that this slab wasn't perfectly flat. There was a low spot there, so when the CNC was engraving, it wasn't going as deep as it was on the rest of the design. What a bummer. The other thing I learned from this project, don't use red resin with salmon gum. It doesn't show up very well. In hindsight, I probably should have gone with my first idea, which was just to fill the entire thing with black and white so that it stood out in contrast against the wood. I think I really should have stuck with that idea. It also would have been a hell of a lot easier to pour it all with one color, or maybe just mix the random 2 colors together, but not using the hot glue to try and block certain sections. That would have made it a heap easier. But I don't think I've ever been about easy on this channel. I've been about experimenting, and that's what this was. So unfortunately, we lost some of the words there, but overall, this was a really cool experiment. I'm so glad I got to play around with the CNC machine. If you want to check out more of Binghams Woodworking, I'll leave a link down below to his Facebook page so you can head on over there, see what they do, and even place an order if you want. I'm sure he'd love to make you something custom. We're going to skip over the hanging this on the wall part. Because the lettering disappeared, I'm not quite sure that I want to put it up just yet. I might have to do another one in the future. Bet you live and learn with these things. Anyway, guys, thanks for checking out this episode. I hope you stayed till the end. We're getting rather close now to our 52nd episode, which is very, very exciting. We've nearly been at this for a whole year, making a video a week, which is an insane schedule, trust me. But we're almost there. Christmas is coming soon, so make sure if you want some unique Christmas gifts, guys, get in touch with me on my Facebook page at J&D Creations 18, but get in touch quick because I'm booking out very fast. Be good to each other. I'll see you next week, and remember, with great power comes great responsibility.